With a brand new UFO whistleblower by the name of Jason Sands coming out on X, a UFO crash from 1953 exposed to still be on Earth as a part of a crash retrieval program, some insane UFO footage, and brand spanking new UFO footage from over the New York skyline, it has been an incredible week for UFO news. So starting with Monday's news, we had obviously brand new information regarding a brand new UFO whistleblower by the name of Jason Sands, and he blew the lid on absolutely everything. We're going to look at the highlights of that video first and then get into some of the comments and one post made. Now this post is going to become very pivotal in just a moment, but long story short, he went live on Twitter Space with multiple other people to kind of blow the whistle on, well, not blow the whistle yet, but kind of prepare people for what was to come. And some of the things that he was due to talk about was, well, one thing in particular was that James Fox was well aware that he was doing this because he texted him during that period when he was going live. So, you know, he was well aware that he was going forward. He said that he's a first-hand whistleblower, and his whistleblowing his first-hand knowledge of this phenomenon, which is amazing. Unlike other people that have come forward so far, it's kind of been second-hand information thus far, but apparently this is going to be first-hand information. Any connection to classified programs need to be discussed in an SCIF, and he's willing to publicly testify in hearings, and he's made this very well known to Congress, which obviously is very similar to that of David Grush. He said that given his testimony to the Senate and House each time he's spoken to them, and there's been at least 7 individuals present. This is the real talking point, and this is where some things the lines start to blur a little bit, but regarding whether this guy is legit or not, because that's a huge thing that's been floating around the internet, is this guy's legitimacy. So, one thing is, he stood 3 foot away from a blue-skinned humanoid. Okay, there's been crash retrieval programs are legit, multiple craft and NHI tangible and physical, long stories about lots of non-human intelligence, about some of them being able to tolerate us, about some of them, you know, not liking us but not being malicious, and some of them just kind of not liking us whatsoever, apparently. But the blue-skinned humanoid has been a huge talking point because Patrick over at the Vetted YouTube channel did make a video regarding this whole situation and basically said that you know, he's come into contact with this blue humanoid, and over the radio, here's some summary notes from his podcast. Basically, he said that over the radio, Jason was told to kill the alien, and Jason shoots and kills the alien, apparently. Alright, bear that in mind, because that obviously came from Vetted's YouTube video that was uploaded yesterday. But kind of coming forwards, we're going to look at some of the things that were said about Jason, and some of the things that he said in this Twitter space. So take a little gander to this clip right here, because this is one of many clips that I'm going to be showing you within this video, because this whole situation runs so deep, and the entire Twitter space was well over 5 hours long. So, you know, I'm not going to bore you with the full 5 hours, but if you want to find it, you'll be able to easily find it over on Twitter. But here's a small segment.
So craft, Texas, Central America, South America, Vietnam, and several other countries are retrieval site areas. The types of craft, it's like we discussed earlier, just, you know, some of them were just drones with no biologics. Some did have biologics in them, that sort of thing. From the person that I had contact with and what I thought he was doing here, he felt like he was telepathic part of what he was communicating because he wasn't speaking English, and I didn't know what language it was, but I could understand him perfectly. So we were sharing mind space, and apparently there was some kind of residue memory from him that when I was being interviewed, some people were able to bring that out of me. And he just mainly he seemed like he was here as a worker, part of the workforce that was interacting with program. Now, when you get back to the part of your question about, you know, what interaction do they have in the program, the only parts of that I got exposed to was just the fact fact that they were helping in the labs under certain conditions that were highly, highly managed. And you could tell they did not want to do a free-for-all exchange of a technology at all. It seemed very, very controlled, like they didn't want to give anything dangerous to us at all. So hopefully that answers all the questions you had.
Part about the agreements. Have you heard of anything,
Oh, the agreements.
Yeah, NHI agreement.
Well, that's as far as I would say, is that I know that if they're working in the labs, there had to be some kind of an agreement for them to do so, because I'm sure they had to barter back and forth as to what part they wanted to play, how much they wanted to give. So that all had to be part of an agreement of some sort. I also heard at one point that the Holloman thing did happen, and that again shows that there was some sort of interaction between our own president at the time and them. And I would imagine there was some kind of an agreement, either verbal or written or otherwise, that has been probably enacted ever since. So those are the only two things I could bona fidely say that yes, there is some form of agreement out there that if those two things that I heard are true, then yes, that there's at least evidence that I have heard that that's exactly what's going on.
Now, that is hot takes, all right? A lot of hot takes there regarding presidents and agreements and all sorts. There is a lot to take in just from that one small segment alone. But like I said, it runs so much deeper than that, with so many other things being said about Jason. All right, and this other clip that I've got for you guys right here
is that something you could
also
talk about?
Kind of talks about some of the things that were going on and some of the things that he said. Take a little listen.
But do you know much about 20 and back?
Yes.
Is that something you could talk about?
I'm not comfortable talking about it, but I served it. I was forced to serve in it when I was taken out of the program.
Okay, UFO Intros takes note of that, because I talked about that on one of your spaces like 3 months ago, and you're like, what's that? But
now, there's a lot of what he just said there within the Twitter spaces. Basically saying, yes, I was a part of that. No, I can't talk about it. Yes, I was a part of that. Yes, I witnessed that. But no, I can't talk about it, if that makes sense. It's very, for whatever reason, it was very hush-hush, kept under wraps kind of thing. And whether that be because he's exposing it all within the documentary that's coming up and maybe he's got an NDA to not disclose it beforehand, or whether it's because he's just genuinely can't talk about it yet, I don't know. But that's the only kind of way that I can see it playing out. But like I said before, Patrick from Vetted he made a video about it yesterday, and he kind of disclosed that that Jason Sands has come into contact with a blue alien that he had to kill. Over the radio, apparently he was told to do that. He's caught a bit of, not backlash, but backlash for it. Jason Sands has actually come out and disreputed the video, I guess, or just points that were made within the video. So on Jason's Twitter page, he posted this image right here. It was basically his certificate of release or discharge from active duty, which he posted to add credibility to the reasons that he was, taken away from the program and the timelines and all the rest of it. Because a lot of people are asking about timelines. If you remember with David Grush, their biggest thing about it was, what's the timeline? What's his credentials? Does it match up? So can we believe this person? And it did. News Nation were incredibly good. They went real deep into his credentials. Everything added up, and he's now a certified whistleblower. He was he would have been there at the time, during the time of all of these things going on. So he posted this to basically again add up the timeline. Now, Jason was reached out to by Matt Laszlo. If you guys know who Matt Laszlo is, he does the Ask a Poll UAPs. He's incredibly good. He's got his nose on the ground and his finger on the pulse when it comes to all of these things. And, he's a really good investigative journalist. And someone even responded to this, so, DMs are open from Ask a Poll, saying Matt Laszlo would love to have a chat anytime. And then Chris said, FWIW, Jason, and then basically tagged in Jason. Matt are one of the frontline UAP political reporting with raw, crowd-sourced, unbiased, and unfiltered journalism. I trust them to treat your story with the respect and transparency, but check out their work, it speaks for itself. Jason responded to this and said, yes, that's why I joined the chat last night. I do want to address an inaccuracies from people that are blogging today. Number 1, I didn't kill any blue aliens. Number 2, I should have been very clear that I was a part of the UAP forum and not employed by the UAP task force, which basically tries to undo some of the things that were said, not just in Vetted's video, but, you know, also in Vetted's video, and you can see down in the description of Vetted's video, he says that in our previous video, link below, about Jason Sands, we mentioned Jason, quote, killed a blue alien. We were the only ones to report that. He responded on Twitter to our first video. We discussed that topic on this video. So, basically, there was an indirect response to Vetted's video about him killing a blue alien, which was, you know, an exclusive take. Only he reported that. So the only reason that he would have been mentioning that within his tweet was because he would have been indirectly referencing to Vetted's video about it. Now, does that mean that Vetted's video is wrong? No. Does it mean that there were inaccuracies? Potentially. I don't know. Like, there's not... I want to see what Patrick's video holds today to see what kind of retort there's going to be, because, you know, we'll hear about it. But down in the comments, I did see a very interesting comment here about... He never said he killed an alien. Vetted said it multiple times without vetting anything. Talk to the guy before making videos like that. Now, I get comments like this all the time. I'm sure that Vetted would have had... substance to this before reporting it, because he's incredibly good. He's probably one of the best people to be doing this, like this UFO UAP reporting. So I'm certain that if something was said like that, he would have vetted that opinion first before putting it on a video. He would have made sure that information was accurate. Now, that was a little side note, just because, you know, it was brought up and it was a big talking point. And the next thing that was brought into question was a potential law firm of Jason Sands. Now, people noticed this. Obviously, people went out Googling Jason Sands to try and get his credentials, to try and find out as much as they could about him. And in their research, they found this law website, which is interesting because on the surface, it looks like your bog standard, you know, law professions website. But people found inaccuracies with it and found that the lawyers within it weren't actual people, and they were fake people. And another thing that people thought was, if you're trying to be taken seriously in a very serious profession like a lawyer, you wouldn't have your profile picture as something as wild and out there as a selfie of you in a mirror in your bathroom. And that's just kind of where people were like, what is this? Is this an AI generated website? Is he even aware of this website? Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that this is absolutely his website and everything else, because I don't know that. And this could be something that was just completely created off a whim. Like, you know, he might not even have knowledge that this website exists. So we're going to give the benefit of the doubt there. But it was an interesting point that I wanted to kind of bring up with you, because, you know, it's one of the things that's being brought into question to try and almost, you know, not discredit, but be like, what's this about then? What's this kind of situation? But there are a lot of people who are not on board, let's say, with Jason Sands. And there are a few people who are questioning his validity, let's say. So one of them being at Aerotech Space over on Twitter, because, you know, he likes, how do I describe it? He's not a debunker, but he likes to, like, you know, he's been very accurate with his information. Let's put it that way. His credentials and his, you know, information on his Twitter page speak for itself. So he said, I caution everyone to be skeptical of Jason Sands. A lot was said last night, and it doesn't seem to make any sense how a 20-plus year US Air Force signals intelligence analyst was talking about aliens and 3 inches or 3 foot from an NHI. His job is behind a computer screen intercepting foreign communications for intel, which, you know, brought a lot of questions. People were like, well, actually, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would he be out in the field 3 foot away from a blue alien if his job's behind a computer, but maybe he had field work. I don't know. I don't know the guy. It's very scarce information online, and that's why people have plucked at these things like the law firm and other things like that. And another thing that he said was this post right here, which was in response to a tweet that I'll read out in a moment. So, the initial tweet was, a new whistleblower, Jason Sands, who claims direct contact with non-human intelligences and is a key feature in James Fox's upcoming documentary, claims he was forced into a 20-year and back program during the interview on Spaced Out Radio. Okay? However, the 20-year and back program is an entirely fabricated program created by Corey Good, who in 2022 was literally forced to admit the whole thing was fraudulent in a recorded court deposition that is available online. This new whistleblower is claiming that he was forced into a program that was fabricated by a fraudster, UFO personality, to make money. And again, this guy, the Aerotech Space, said, game over. I told everyone to be very cautious and dial back the enthusiasm when it was touted as a hero last night. Please do not delete this post. Project Unity. And again, another thing that was brought into question was his validity and his background. And another thing that was brought into question was, again, to do with his background. And that was during the space. Now, people, it's absolutely wild, right? Because people have looked so in depth at this Twitter space that he did. But let me bring it back again. New UFO whistleblower Jason Sands completely contradicts himself less than 24 hours after going public. Last night, Sands said he was part of the Pentagon's UFO task force. Today, he says he wasn't. And this was during the Stephen Greenstreet, by the way, is hot on the heels of this kind of thing. So, April 20th, Greenstreet, were you a part of the UAP task force? Sands, yes. Greenstreet, when were you a part of the UAP task force? Sands, from 2021 until Arrow was stood up, basically, until Arrow was created. Greenstreet, so you served with Brennan McKernan? Sands, yes. April 21st, I should have been very clear that I was not an employee of the UAP task force, which again goes back to that original tweet that Sands made. And Sands did respond to this and said, this is where it gets heated, and says, that was my bad. I should have made the distinction between being part of the UAP Task Force Forum, vice the UAP Task Force employees. So great that you caught that so we can clear that up. Not a contradiction, but just you mincing words as you seem to do. Glad your audience now has the correct meaning. Stephen Greenstreet responded by saying, that was my bad, and then you blame me. Lol, classic. I asked you a specific question, which you specifically answered. You later contradicted yourself. Also, how did you get access to classified task forces forums if you weren't part of the classified task force? Whew. In which, basically, there was no response. But Jason Sands once again responded, not to that thread, but with a new comment saying, by the way, there were many folks in that and the forum that were not employees, who are part of that forum that were not employees. Stephen says, what forum? Government or personal? TS or CSI? SCI, sorry. Can you provide evidence it even existed? Once again, to which it was a case of, yeah, trust me, bro. So the top comment that I saw from quite a lot of people was one that was basically summarised by Jimmy Thornseed 8605, who went on to state, 20 and back is such an outlandish idea that you could be taken from anywhere that you live for 20 years and serve as a security officer in an alien/reptilian army that guards the solar system and then sent back 20 years like it never happened. Y-Files has an episode, it's absolutely insane. That would affect the credibility more than anything else, I feel. But other parts are lining up with what we know about already, so it's difficult to tell. And this was obviously in regard to Jason Sands, basically talking about the 20 and back situation. The comment section was so polarizing, to Jason Sands. Some people saying that he was really credible, just like David Grush, and some people saying that he is lying through his back teeth. And right now, there's still no fluctuation on that. People are still up and down about whether he is legit or not. Now, I do have a bigger video coming out probably tomorrow, talking about Jason Sands and how just the developments on the story. But moving into Tuesday, we spoke about a UFO crash from 1953 and how an alien body and a UFO that were part of a crash retrieval program might still actually be on Earth. Here are the highlights from that video. We need to start off with who's Christopher Mellon, because if anyone who doesn't know him, you might not know if we've got to vet him, first of all. So, Christopher Mellon was born on October 2nd, 1957, and is a private equity investor, and he's a former deputy assistant of the Secretary of Defense of Intelligence in the Clinton and George W. Bush administrations, and later, for security and information operations, he formerly served as the staff director of the United States Senate and Select Committee on Intelligence, and he is a member of the influential Mellon family out of the greater Pittsburgh area. Mellon has lobbied the US government investigations for UFO/UAP. Basically, his credentials just sing his praises. He is the guy who will know something if there was something to be known, and he basically just completely spilt the tea all over the coffee table, and he's just like, there you go, have it. And what I mean, I literally mean that he just did that, because yesterday, at the time of recording, literally 10:26 p.m. on April 22nd, he just posted a screenshot. Literally, that was it. No context, no writing. He just posted a motherfucking screenshot. And I was just like, oh my days. This is huge. And in the screenshot, it's clearly iMessages. You can see because of the reaction and the blue and the grey background. But this was circa 2020. So Christopher Mellon's messages are in blue, so we know that this has come from his device. And the grey messages are from a senior USG official. Okay? Bear that in mind. So, from what we've got, there are some redacted parts, probably for security purposes, maybe their names, or maybe case files or something. But someone and I are making huge progress in getting into the crash retrieval program. He plans to meet with you at some point. The something would be slack-jawed if they found out what we know. Wow. Something 45. Literally, that's all we can see there. But that's pivotal in just a moment, so bear with it. Right now, we haven't gone that far back. We're dealing with a recovered UAP at the landing in Kingman, Arizona in the 50s. Okay? We're vacuuming up as much info as gets rode in. We now know the management structure and the security control systems and ownership of the crash retrieval. This is crazy. We also know who recovers landed or crashed UAPs under what authorities. We also know that a still highly classified memo by the Secretary of the USAF in the 1950s is still in effect to maintain the cover on UAPs. We also know that the SES-2, who's the Air Force gatekeeper, name redacted here, but provided to Congress, it says on the statement. And that's all we got. What the actual motherfuck? Like, this is boom. All right? And as if that wasn't bad enough, I was sent an email by Ebony McKickass, who has by far the best name in the world, but she sent over this and was basically like, there is no way that this is not being spoken about. Like, how is this not being spoken about? So on Christopher's Substack, okay, he talks about this legacy program here. So recently, as a result of an FOIA request, the Department of Defense released some signals exchanges with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The release surprised but did not offend me, as I'm a strong supporter of government transparency. However, it also reminded me of another signal message that the public might find of interest that is also pertinent to an alleged recovery of an off-world technology. Out of respect for the author's confidentiality, I've been sitting on this message for a number of years. I've also redacted portions of the document to protect his identity, the identity of the author. However, I recently obtained the author's written permission to release it. It has also now been approved for public release by the Defense Office of Publication and Security Review, DOPSR. My purpose on releasing this document in the wake of the government's blanket denials regarding the possession of off-world technology is to simply help others understand why I and some others consider these allegations worthy of investigation. Oh my giddy arm. And there's the screenshot. But it goes on. There is more information that was released. And if you think that was exciting, wait until we get the next part. Wait. All right. As you can see, this senior government official claimed that they were being granted access to an alleged US alien technology recovery and exploitation program. I won't comment on the organisation they worked for, but I can confirm that the individual had plausible access and was a high-ranking, considerably more than whistleblower David Grush. As you can see, this individual claimed to be gaining deep insights into the program and had even provided the name of the alleged Air Force gatekeeper for this alleged secret realm. I've shared the unredacted copy of this message with some staff and members of various congressional oversight committees. To the best of my knowledge, none have elected to contact the alleged USAF gatekeeper to check the veracity of this claim. We go on. Aware of the government's categorical denial, of anything related to extraterrestrial life, I submitted a copy of this brief exchange to the Defense Office of Publication and Security Review, and they confirmed the text is unclassified and approved for public release. However, I also recognise that those making the determination that the document is unclassified would not likely be cleared from such an acutely sensitive program if it did exist. Further, the government could hardly deny the approval to release this information without to some degree confirming its sensitivity and legitimacy. So, although I'm relieved to have confirmation that the document is unclassified, I also recognise the truth could be more complicated. I think most people receiving the information of this kind of a senior government official would naturally take the issue seriously, while we're still holding reservations about such a wild and sensational claim. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to, really keep a level head with this, because yes, this is absolutely huge and it has quite literally been confirmed. There's still a vetting process that it needs to go through, and we need to err on the side of caution. We need to take it nice and easy, all right, but also get incredibly excited because this is a huge step in the right direction. Anyway, there was also this that was uploaded to his Substack. Now, this is basically a document which outlines that Redacted part here and I are making huge progress into getting to the CR program. He wants to chat with you at some point. So these are the text messages, okay? So you can see where this has been cleared for open publication. So this document has literally been cleared for open publication, sorry. So it's allowed to be put out there. And, Christopher Mellon is crossing his T's and dotting his I's with this. And he's gone on to state here, it is important to stress that regardless of the alleged technology recovery issue, the UAP topic is one that requires serious, continued congressional and executive branch attention. In just the last few years alone, over 1,000 military UAP reports have been recorded. This is in addition to a wider pattern of mysterious and disruptive drone overflights over US bases and warships. Fighter aircraft from Langley Air Force Base recently had to be relocated after weeks of drone overflights at Langley that the Air Force seemed impotent to address. Now, this was an issue that I covered recently with, where Langley Air Force Base was literally, it got cleared out because there were overhead drones or unmanned aircraft that were just completely swarming the place, They didn't know how to deal with it, so what did they do? They shut the base down and relocated absolutely everything, from craft to personnel. It was wild. Right. Impotent to address. The Air Force still does not know who was operating those craft or where they came from. And it's not just Langley. There have been many similar unsolved cases elsewhere in recent years. These include incidents at Anderson Air Force bases, sensitive facilities on Guam, a large region of United States containing the US ICBM missile silos. Navy vessels both the east and west coasts have been extensively surveilled. USAF training ranges in Arizona have been violated, and more. If we didn't have a culture of trying to shame and humiliate military personnel who see and report unusual things, the military would undoubtedly have other credible reports to evaluate. With such extraordinary demonstrated vulnerabilities, far more serious than mere Chinese balloon, there is an urgent need for the government to aggressively investigate incursions of restricted military airspace regardless of the truth and any allegations about a recovered off-world technology. Now, that's the kind of long and short of it. This is absolutely mind-boggling, and you're probably thinking to yourself, now, what is this Kingman, Arizona incident that happened in the 50s? Well, I did some digging. And I found a handful of videos, one on YouTube, one on TikTok, and I found kind of a roundup video over on Twitter of this exact incident. And it's going to absolutely blow your friggin' minds, like, what actually went down on that night. All right? So, strap yourselves in, because this is where it gets a bit wild.
Kingman, Arizona, May 1953. At the height of the Cold War, an unidentified object reportedly crashed in the desert sands. What remained was allegedly sent to America's most top-secret facility, Area 51. But it wasn't until 45 years later, in 1998, that a retired military engineer named Bill Uhouse came forward to make a stunning claim. The military didn't just have the extraterrestrial technology, they had an actual living alien. Kingman, Arizona.
Bro! What? No! Like, this whole thing just gets wild and wild and wilder. And then here is a little roundup made by a very, very, very good page, if you don't follow it already, called Dan Warren over on Twitter. He's very, very good when it comes to these kind of roundup videos. Take a little listen to this.
Top secret government UFO crash retrieval programs have been discussed all over the mainstream media lately. But no one's actually talking about the rumored UFO crash retrievals that happened. May 1953, witnesses report 8 saucer-shaped UFOs streaking across the Arizona sky, zigging and zagging, bobbing and weaving, and ducking and dodging in what looks like a dogfight in the sky. And 70 years later, congressional hearing witness Ryan Graves relays that commercial pilots are seeing similar activities in the skies to this day.
So I have been reporting that north of the Atlantic and the Northern Pacific as well, pilots that are doing those transatlantic or transpacific flights are seeing various objects, lights that are coming down, behaving in strange ways, holding in a pattern, look like almost like they're dogfighting in space in some way, kind of back and forth with each other.
Which sounds surprisingly similar to a mass sighting of an aerial battle that occurred between triangular objects, spheres, and cylinders that took place 461 years ago over a small town in Germany named Nuremberg. And much like the spherical objects depicted as falling out of the sky and crashing into the ground in this engraving, the 1953 dogfight ended with 3 of the 8 objects crashing into the ground near Kingman, Arizona. 1 was completely destroyed, 1 was severely damaged when it clipped the edge of a butte, and surprisingly, 1 was found completely intact without a scratch on it. So if there have been UFO battles taking place in the skies over Kingsman, Nuremberg, and the North Atlantic and Pacific, between non-friendly groups of non-human intelligences, does this provide a simple answer to a difficult question that's often asked by skeptics as well as newcomers to this topic? If they're so advanced that they can get here, why would they crash when they arrive? In addition to the possibility of a battle being the reason for the Kingman UFO crashes, other potential explanations have been put forward, including the possibility of the UAPs falling from the skies due to a series of massive explosions unleashed by the Atomic Energy Commission at a nearby test site in Nevada, which was codenamed Upshot Knothole. Or could the crashes have been caused by a trio of immensely powerful experimental radar sites in the area that generated high output, high energy, short bolts of microwave radiation? Regardless of the reason, the crafts crashed, and it's reported that the military quickly descended upon the Kingman crash site and secured the site until a recovery team arrived and took the craft. Although researchers have been unable to obtain any material left behind from the craft themselves, when they visited the crash site, they did find evidence of the military having a presence there. And this evidence came in the form of military-grade food canisters that were dated back to 1953. So are these Kingman craft in the inventory of the UFOs that David Grush alleges that the US has possession of? Hopefully, first-hand witnesses of these crash retrieval programs will begin to come forward, and we'll finally get answers to that as well as many other questions. But until then, check out the rest of this story on Mystery Wire that George Knapp wrote. And if you want to hear all the controversy that surrounds this Kingman event, check out the April 17th episode of Somewhere in the Skies. Thanks for watching, like, share, and subscribe.
I saw an amazing comment from Mark QT7SF who said, I think the term crash retrieval is quite a catch-all term. Of course, it could be a retrieval of foreign objects that crashed, perhaps even with advanced technologies. Besides, there is a difference between landing and crashing. Nowhere in the text does it say of unknown origin or alien, but perhaps we are slowly getting to the truth, which basically summarized this entire video perfectly, because we obviously got the documents about a crashed retrieve program that was completely leaked by Christopher Mellon. And of course, this leaked information from Christopher Mellon, these leaked DMs, really blew the lid off of absolutely everything. And without the context of the images, we were just left to speculate, which led down some very interesting paths. Moving into Wednesday, though, we had another update regarding Jason Sands and how things didn't really look that great for him. There was so much pushback on Jason and his story, and the credibility not necessarily adding up. The pressure was piling on immensely, to the point where he had to even speak out about things in this brand new group that was formed. Here's some of the highlights. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that everybody is saying that James Fox could lose his complete credibility on this whole UFO topic over this story. Now, this is great for James Fox. You know, his documentary's got the absolute exclusive scoop with this guy, and it was all looking amazing. There was a lot of hype around it, but if this man isn't who he says he is, he could be destroying James Fox's credibility alongside his own. And a lot of people are saying that, so this tweet kind of summarizes that perfectly, with someone saying, hey James Fox, sorry to see your credibility being flushed down the toilet with your associate with this Jason Sands. And he is one of the first-hand, quote, Grush witness and a super soldier. What a load of garbage. And that is one of many tweets that I've seen. Now, James Fox is yet to respond to the controversy, I suppose. Whether he's going to or not, I do not know. But like I said before, I do believe that James probably would have done some form of vetting process before he allowed him to go onto his program. So hopefully within the documentary, maybe even before, now that this is all kind of come along, there might be some kind of vetting process released by James Fox himself. But there were a few people over the past couple of days that have kind of called out Jason Sands for not being who he claims to be, and one person even going as far as to say that his claims don't even hold water. So Eric Davies is one of those people in particular, and as you can see from Stephen Greenstreet, he put a tweet out saying Eric Davies comes out against Jason Sands and his wild alien claims. Quote, BS, he was never vetted. His claims don't hold water. When you've lost Eric, demons telepathically spoke to me, Davies. Alright, so, you know, it's pretty wild. But he put this comment out and said, Sands turned out to be either a liar or a believer of his own BS. He was never vetted, and his story keeps changing. People I collaborate with have met him and realised that his claims don't hold water. The only thing that they felt was a certain from meeting Sands that he likely did work at US Air Force bases. So, and that's the thing. So Jason Sands, from what we know, was an Intel, worked in Intel. So he was behind a keyboard for most of his career. So people are questioning how he came to stand 3 foot away from an alien when his primary job was behind a keyboard. But, moving forwards, there was another person who did kind of come out and kind of almost disrepute the claims made by Eric Davies. So Nicole Sakash slammed Eric Davies for calling the alleged UFO whistleblower Jason Sands a liar, and this is what she had to say.
You know, I was proud of ufology that it maybe had a moment in this slump or whatever that's going on, and then it all turned so stupid, ugly, so fast for no reason at all. Just have some manners, have some respect or decency, have some patience. Shame on you, Eric Davis. Like, honestly, shame on you, Eric Davis. I almost hope the Wilson Davis documents are just fucking fake as shit now. I do. I'll say it. I do. I hope they're fake.
All right.
You know.
My man on the left does not know what to say. He's just there like, okay, what do I say? So, you know, there's that. It is what it is, I suppose, but this is where it gets really interesting because there are a lot of people coming forward to kind of speak about this entire situation now. And there was similar with David Grush, if you remember back to when David Grush came out on News Nation. Obviously, you know, News Nation was a far more... I think David Grush kind of had a leg up on that situation because News Nation vetted him. It was, you know, an independent news network. They had almost a job and a duty of care to make sure that he was vetted and claimed to be who he was. You had Ross Coulthart interviewing him, who, you know, is pretty down the line cutthroat about these kind of things. So I think he already had a leg up, but there was still speculation about, is he truly who he says he is? And even today, there still is, but I think David Grush has kind of stood the test of time. But there was a new official statement from Jason Sands on his recent discussions and misrepresentations. That's the route he's going down, by the way, misrepresentations. So we're going to take a little look at that. But the first thing that you should be aware of is, obviously, if you just look on your screens now, UAP United. All right, bear that in mind because we're going to take a little look at that in a moment because there's been a lot of questions about what on earth is UAP United. But this was an official statement from Jason Sands on a recent discussion and misrepresentation. So regarding the process of whistleblowing and the various bodies involved, the National Defense Authorization Act outlines the whistleblower process, not the Inspector General's process. The role of Intelligence Community Inspector General, where my case was ultimately directed, focuses specifically on investigations within the intelligence community. This was decided after some deliberation about whether my case should go to the Department of Defense Inspector General due to my role as an action officer last year. The distinction was made because my experience is related to my time on active duty as an intelligence analyst, importantly under the NDAA whistleblower legislative protections. The ICIG process does not confer any additional whistleblower status once a person is covered under these protections. In recent conversations, particularly during the spaced out radio broadcast around the 3-hour 40-minute timestamp, I clarify that while 20 and back, which is also something that's a blast from the past if anyone doesn't know about that, is not an official program name. It refers to a significant, though difficult, experience within the programs I was a part of. It appears that the crucial part of my statement was omitted in some posts, leading to misunderstandings about my testimony. I am committed to proving more information soon to further clarify the challenging aspects of my experience with the program. There have been inaccuracies, in public discussions about my clearance and credentials. Richard Doty recently suggested that the system used to look up my clearances was incorrect. My clearance levels and specific access details are not publicly accessible and require specific readings, which not everyone discussing my clearances, such access, is compartmentalized and limited to those with equivalent clearance levels. Both Mr. Doty and Mr. Davies have made significant errors in their public statements regarding my case. I urge them to retract their statements and correct the record. Oh, damn. To everyone navigating through the intricacies, of these discussions and disclosures, I appreciate your patience and diligence in seeking the truth. It's crucial that these conversations reflect the complexities and sensitivities of the issue at hand accurately. I remain committed to transparency and the pursuit of clarity in the ongoing dialogue. Jason Sands. So basically, that was a massive, here's the record, here's what I acknowledgement of what people have said. I hear what you say, people. Eric Davies and Mr. Doty, I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong. So I urge you to clear up the misinformation, because you are slandering my name right now. And that's essentially the way that it's gone. And, it's a bit of a minefield, because it's like, thou doth protest too much a little bit, but who knows? But UAP United is an interesting one, because I've seen a lot of people just in the comments, what is UAP United? Now, there is a page on X about UAP United. It's following one person. It's got 303 followers, and it started in April 2024, so it looks like it's absolutely brand spanking new, and almost made for the purpose of kind of delivering this message. But they have put out a tweet saying, "We are a global collective of journalists and researchers giving whistleblowers a platform to share UAP information and insights, committed to truth and authenticity. We uphold strict confidentiality for our sources. Join the pursuit of clarity on the UAP phenomenon." Now, the top comment here is, I'm pretty sure this is just you, Jason. So it's almost as if this Twitter page has been created to almost add validity to the claims being made by Jason Sands. Almost as if, look, this is becoming a unity. This is becoming a movement, a safe place for people to come forwards and speak about it. But it was only created after some backlash towards Jason Sands, and it's almost like, it was an opportunity for Jason to put out a message, just not under his own name, because if he puts it out under his own name, I guess the outlook on it would be a bit more tarnished. Whereas if it comes out from an official body, then it might hold a bit more weight, potentially. But that's just me speculating. What do you guys think on that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But like I said, I googled UAP United, and just from my Google search, you can see literally nothing bearing that insignia, other than this Twitter page again that we've already discovered. That's the only place that I could find it. But there were also some other strange shenanigans and people bringing up questions, especially on the Big Thing podcast. So, if you haven't seen that with Christian Harloff, you definitely should. But Jesse Michaels on Jason Sands. I met him once. Maybe a sort of revealed preference tell is that I didn't do a show with him. I can't speak today. Definitely kind of weird initial PR move to do a Twitter Spaces if you're really the first guy that dealt with material firsthand, which is obviously the point that we made earlier on. But we're going to take a little look at the points made in the Big Thing podcast.
Respected in the community. Yeah. Goes and makes, he's making a new document, and he has this interview where he says that he's got this guy. Yeah. And he's seen documents with this guy, he's seen pictures with this guy. And everyone's like, well, it's got to be this Jason Sands guy, because then Jason Sands comes out and he does this interview on Twitter Spaces. Yeah. Which,
not a good first move.
What are you doing? That's where you need a guy like you to say, let me set up the News Nation or something, or do something, because you're doing Twitter Spaces right away. That made me go, huh? What's he doing there? And so he detailed a lot of stuff. Now, one of the things that threw me off with this, they asked him about Grush. And they said, have you worked with Grush?
Yeah.
And he's like, I've worked with Grush. He called him Grush.
Yeah.
He called him Grush. Like, and we talk all the time. I'm like, well, why are you calling him Grush?
Yeah.
And it's like that. And that could just be a little thing inside of my head because I'm just now at this point, I'm looking at, I try to have a skeptic point of view as much as I have the disclosure point of view in there too.
Yeah.
But this guy's talking about a lot of different things, because if the stuff that he's saying is accurate, and a guy like David Grush goes, no, this guy's legit. James Fox he's legit. Leslie Kean was in there listening to this Twitter Spaces when this thing was happening.
Yeah, sure.
So if all these people back this guy up, and he turns out to be the whistleblower and says the kind of shit that he's saying, it'll blow the roof off the place.
Yeah.
But the first question is, are you following this guy, and what do you make of him?
I am following him. I met him once.
Okay.
So maybe the sort of revealed preference is that I didn't do a show with him.
Okay.
But I don't also actively distrust the guy. It's not like I don't want to knock him.
But you're like the rest of us. Something you want to see what's going on.
I want to
first.
see what's going on first, and definitely kind of a weird initial PR move to do Twitter Spaces if you're like the first guy that like dealt with the material firsthand. So I don't know what your goal is there, but look, he seemed, when I met him, like pretty earnest and actually a little almost traumatized or something.
Yeah.
Like
interesting.
He had gone through like a lot.
Okay.
But I just don't know exactly what to make of him. And unlike Grush, look, my opinion is, in order to get a real consensus shift and like closer towards that like disclosure moment, I think we need one of two things: a real Bob Lazar, or like not. Now, I'm not saying Bob Lazar was even fake, but like an undeniable Bob Lazar, like hapless engineer type,
right?
Where it's like, I was recruited into the thing. I have no intel credentials prior to like being recruited into the thing.
Right.
Like that would be really, really good, because you'd know all of the sort of manipulation abilities and like that, that's all kind of out the window. You can like see that this person's just like kind of this earnest dude. That, or at the top, sort of a department head, like a really credible, head of a government agency, head of the DOD, or Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Energy, that sort of thing. And then I don't know on Jason Say. I think if he comes out with a lot more detail that we can corroborate through other sources, then I'm totally open to it. And so I don't want to knock him, and I hope it's real.
That's my
thing. I don't
Yeah.
care if I'm covering. I'm a fan of James Fox, and I hope it's real.
But a brilliant comment was one that I saw from Edward THC, who said, if he's lying, I wonder who he's lying on behalf of, because it got me thinking, who could he be lying on behalf of, you know? Like, what reason is there to lie? If he is lying, who is it for? Who is it to benefit? Because he's literally just dragged his career through the mud, seemingly, and his name. So there must be some kind of end game in all this. And if he is truly lying, is it for the sake of the documentary that's coming up? Is it for the sake of just trying to kind of be someone within this space? Who knows? Moving through to Thursday's video, we took a little break from all of the hot news because it was just so much stuff churning out. It was hard to know what was real, what wasn't. So we took a bit of a break from that, and I looked at some of the footage that was sent over to me, some of the best UFO footage that was sent over to me. And here those are. So the first one comes in from someone called Donnie, who just titled it Moon Surface. And they said, this is a clip that I uploaded. I have hours upon hours of similar footage and hours that I haven't even looked at yet. I won't give any description because I like when people point out some things that I see without suggestion. It makes it so much more difficult for critics to use pareidolia as an excuse for what I'm seeing. Or maybe you won't see anything either. I'm curious what your thoughts are either way. And this was the video that Donnie sent over. Oh. Interesting, okay. that's cool. I mean, I'd love to know what we're using to record this for sure, but my first instinct is maybe birds just kind of flying across the lens. But if the moon is this zoomed in, the birds will be massive. So this has got to be something closer to the surface of the moon. But what? That's the question. What is it? Okay, I've got many things that it could possibly be. I mean, it could be birds, to be a more logical explanation. But like I said, because of how zoomed it is into the moon, it might not be birds. But it gives off the vibe that there is something closer to the moon's surface. But what is it? I don't know. It could be craft, it could be beings, it could literally be absolutely anything. Donnie, amazing videos to get us kicked off. The next one comes in from someone called Taylor, who literally said absolutely no description whatsoever, but they did give a little bit of context in a follow-up email, and they said, I live by an airport in Abbeville, Louisiana, and a military base next to the airport had an unexpected visitor sitting on top of it. So, as you can see, the airplane go up to investigate. It doesn't move. The airport airplane comes around to study it right before the end. Another one passes right by and headed to the other one. Now, the weird-looking electric ball is out of the body of water. Damn! Right, let's take a look at these clips. These are the clips that were sent. Okay, so this is the one that was over a body of water, I believe. Right, okay. Oh, right, okay, now we get perspective. This is cool. So that was hella zoomed in before. Now we're back to zoomed in. Back to zoomed out, okay. So this one apparently is over a body of water. So, I mean, it doesn't really help us. I wish there was a bit more definitive shape to it, but there is another video right here that we're going to take a little look at, if it's going to play for us. Which I don't know if it's going to now, but we'll give it a go. Here we go. Right, this is the Air Force Base one. So this is over an RAF base. Not an RAF, a military base, sorry, Air Force Base. Okay. Right, I think that this is the UFO that we're looking at. And then this one down here is the military craft. That's weird, it's got like this if you look at it clearly, it's got like this triangular shape to it. Is there anything else? I have to keep scrolling up and down because for some reason emails don't let me bring it up full size. I mean, look at the definition on this thing. There's blatantly, like, at least 3 lights on this, and I think that this is 3 corners of a craft. This is amazing. Look, there's...
Boy, what is that one? Yeah, it went fly by. Oh, shit, it disappeared.
That's amazing! That was... like raw, it was amazing, it was clear, it was everything that you could possibly want from a UFO clip and more. Thank you so much for sending that over. It's definitely like a triangular shape, you can see it's clearly, I mean it's clearly there. The people are reacting to it and there's like flybys going past to see what it is. The military will say it's like a test of some kind, but we know better. We know that there's definitely something else going on. But on to the next one. So the next one was sent over by Bruno. Now, we don't talk about Bruno, but He said, I filmed this object on my bus seat. It was 7:45 a.m. on November 2023, and I first thought it was an airplane, choked when zooming it in. Right, let's take a look. No audio with it, that's fine. Oh, okay, so we're looking at this. That's certainly strange. I mean, it's booking it. It's shifting. Look at it go. All right, we're going to play that again because look at how quick this thing's... You got to think, a train is rapid. So, whatever the average speed of a train is, let's say this thing's either matching it or going faster than it. Wow. And it's definitely got... Look, it speeds up and everything. Like, we've got so many observables here. We've got speed. We've got acceleration. We've got, obviously, visibility and, like, observable. And we can see that it's clearly defying gravity. So, you know, using the 5 observables on this craft, there's no denying that this is some kind of UFO. Unless, obviously, you know, the camera's not picked up wings and it could just be a jet of some kind. But it's not leaving a slipstream. Obviously, there's no audio, which we can't work with. But this is... We'll play it one more time. There's no denying that that's... Nah, man, that's a Tic Tac UFO for sure. Yeah. I am like 99.9% certain that that's something not of this world. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Another amazing, amazing clip. And then we got one from Lucian. A Hungary UFO large cylinder. Hi Ben. A few years ago, a very well-known photographer in Hungary specialised in car reviews and presented for various clients, unintentionally captured a large cylinder UFO while flying a drone in the countryside. He discovered it a year later while reviewing the footage. Here's the link to the video about the discovery. Unfortunately, he speaks only Hungarian, but you get the idea of what it is about. The link to the original UFO is provided in the video description, and you can see it slowed down if you want to study it. I find it very interesting. I'm sure it's not fake because the guy's credentials. Thank you and take care, L. Right, let's take a look at... I mean, if we could watch it without it buffering, that'd be great. Ah, there it is. Right, let's... Playback speed. Let's go to 0.25 and let's start from the very beginning. Ready? It's up here. You'll see it up here. There it is. Look at that. That's crystal clear. Wow. Bear in mind, that was playing in 0.25% speed. Like, that's literally a quarter of the speed that a regular playback. And you can still see how rapid it moves. Ready? It's about now that it comes in. There it is. That is amazing. And if we watch that back in regular speed, let's see how quick it truly is. You can see there, absolutely immense speeds. Wow, that's amazing. That's got to be by far one of the clearest. We've had a great batch of videos here. Look at that. It literally shifts. And again, using those observables that I was speaking about earlier. The acceleration, the speed, breaking gravity. Obviously, we can't hear anything, so we can't use audio. Observable. You know, again, this is one where I'm like 99.9% certain that this video is completely legit. And that this video's, you know, that's a true UFO. Again, bear in mind, this wasn't intentionally captured. They didn't set out to capture this. This was captured completely by accident. Insane. Wow. Lucian, delivering one of the greatest clips of the video so far as well. I think we're on to what by far the best video of UFO videos we've ever done on this channel. And the next one even makes this even better, by John Mulzoff. And he said, "Dear Ben, the first video I sent you was just before a UFO was chased by a military aircraft of unknown origin for shits and giggles. And we'll just say that the Spanish military, both that one and the third clip in this, take positively, blow my mind, and it will minds of you and your viewers as well, provided you decide to share them within your post. You should know that this one has made a presently making its rounds on Facebook. Please enjoy, bro." Okay, right. Let's take a little look.
Outlet Pivyet Rostov carried the headline that said, and I'm quoting here, this was the headline: "A UFO in the form of a ball was shot down in the sky."
Look at this UFO, dude. This is crazy. It's sitting here spinning.
Alright, initial take, straight off the bat. It doesn't look legit. It looks CGI'd, but we'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Holy shit, that's fucking crazy. What the fuck is that thing?
It's an orb ball spinning right above.
Someone's behind me. I gotta go.
Alright. Fucking crazy.
Okay, I think this one's a different clip.
What in the sand hell? There's the moon.
Right, okay.
What in the sand hell is that? What the hell?
UFO spotted in Las Vegas.
So,
NV.
I'm not entirely sure what this is. I pulled over to the side of the road because I noticed that thing in the air. I can try to zoom in on it as best as I can, but yeah, it's not really clear what it is. It's not moving. It's kind of like suspended in midair. There is no string at all. There's no string underneath it. That's not a balloon. I don't know what that is, but you can see it. I'm going to zoom in right there underneath it. There's no string whatsoever. And this thing is literally hovering above this community. Just like a black ball of something. I don't know what it is.
Now, I don't know why, but I just can't get on board with this so far. I mean, there might be something, and I'll take it back if I feel like I can, but right now, I just can't get on board with it.
Super weird. Wow. Very interesting. I'll zoom in one more time. I wish I had my flashlight on me, honestly. Yeah, it's not moving at all. That thing is stationary. Super weird. This is in the Mountain's Edge area of Las Vegas. Wonder if anyone's ever seen the same thing. I'm near Buffalo and I guess Windmill this would be.
And a comment that really caught my eye on this video was one from Paula Trades 6779. Now, I've absolutely butchered that name, but they said the video from Hungary was dope. I've seen it slowed down, zoomed in, and tracked it in the clouds by the individual who captured it. At those speeds, it's no wonder that we don't see them, especially during the daytime. And the clip in question is this one right here, where it just zips straight through the sky so quickly that it's nigh on impossible to actually see it with the naked eye unless it's really, really slowed down. And it was by far one of the greatest UFO clips that I've seen. Now, some people were very polarized in the in the comments, and there were some brilliant suggestions to run it through editing programs to slow the footage down, reverse the footage, which is something that I'm definitely going to be doing the next time I do videos like this, to just analyze it a little bit deeper. Moving into the next video that we made, it was all about the alien encounter that happened last year in Las Vegas, as News Nation did a bit more of a deep dive into this case, catching up with the family a year later. Here's that.
On April 30th, skywatchers across several western states saw a bright fireball streak through the heavens. A police officer working in the Northwest Valley caught a glimpse of the colorful object on his body cam. At nearly the same time, a Ring camera in the area recorded a strange noise and what sounds like a crash. One family living in a ranch-style home had a much closer view of the object. Two brothers and their father were working on a vehicle in their yard when they caught a glimpse of a sparkly object as it came crashing down, then were hit by what they describe as a shockwave. One of the witnesses, a young man named Angel, has stated when the brothers looked into the yard where the object landed, that spot was obscured and blurry, as if by unknown form of camouflage. What they saw next prompted a frantic call to 911.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
8 News Now investigators have spoken with family members multiple times in the past 4 weeks, but each of the 3 times we accepted their invitation to do an interview, they didn't answer the door or their phone. These are some of the claims they've made in other public forums. Multiple family members backed up the story in an initial police report we obtained. Angel says they heard the patter of multiple feet in the yard. They later heard footsteps on their roof. They saw one of the 8-foot-tall creatures climb behind the controls of a large front loader stored in the yard as if trying to engage it. He got a good look at one of the creatures, he said, a greenish-grayish being with large eyes and long legs. He says he could hear its deep breaths, and when he locked eyes, he was, in essence, frozen in place, couldn't move. In the middle of the yard, where the object had crashed, then vanished, a circular impression was left in the soil.
Okay, where is this on your property?
Metro sources say the police dispatcher initially wondered whether to send a crisis intervention team to help the troubled witness, but then took the incident seriously. 2 officers arrived 38 minutes after the call, and by then had heard from other officers. They proceeded cautiously and managed some nervous laughs.
I ain't dealing with that.
A few days later, the family says 2 Metro sergeants returned to the scene to ask follow-up questions. The family says they also saw men in suits and sunglasses driving in a car with government plates cruising slowly past the house in the following days. Nellis and Creech have denied any interest or involvement with the incident. Metro has indicated they believe the family that something crashed in their yard. But what?
Now, this is where the whole thing got absolutely wild, because it was huge. This obviously came out around the same time as David Grush as well, so everyone was talking about this, everybody. And like I say, the guy created a YouTube video on his YouTube channel. It blew up. He got loads of notoriety from it. Whether that's what he was after or not, I don't necessarily know. But a year later, News Nation has done a deep dive into this situation, interviewing Angel once again, and also getting someone who is a crime scene specialist to analyse the footage to really kind of survey what went on. And we're going to be diving into that right now. So the first thing is the new interview with Angel himself.
What happened in Vegas not stay in Vegas. It circled the known universe. The frenzy grew when reports surfaced that unknown authorities had afterwards placed cameras around this family's home. The family was driven into hiding, off the grid, out of sight, underground. But 10 months later, the mystery lives on, and looky-loos and alien hunters are still on the prowl. The family posted no trespassing signs, but break-ins have been reported frequently here, as recently as last week at this home. Tonight, a News Nation exclusive. The teenager who made that 911 call is finally speaking publicly at length and laying out exactly what he saw that night and what has happened since. Our national correspondent Alex Capriello joins me with that live from Las Vegas tonight.
This is where it gets really interesting, because he, like she said there, goes into real depth about not just what happened on the night, but the aftermath as well, which is equally as important.
So, Alex, it's really compelling, with the advent of a year passing almost, that they've had a chance to digest what it is they've been through. They have kept quiet. They are not looking for attention. And yet now you're getting information, especially from this 15-year-old or the 17-year-old, that's pretty alarming.
Yeah, and I've found out from speaking to Angel Kenmore that life just really has not been all that easy for the past year since they saw that 10-foot tall creature in their backyard right here behind me. For him, he says that he's plain and simple traumatized by it all. He says he can't sleep at night. He's become slightly paranoid. He cries at night, trying to make sense, heads or tails, of what exactly he saw that night, playing it back over and over in his head. You can imagine the torment that's going through in his head. But to this day, none of the family has a very good explanation about what exactly they saw that night. But to their credit, they've stayed pretty consistent about the facts and the details. I really grilled him about that, trying to get him to remember as much as he possibly could about that night. Here's a portion of our conversation. What do you remember about that night? What do you remember seeing?
Start again, I guess. We were in the backyard fixing a truck, and then out of nowhere we just see a big light fall down and basically crash in the backyard. And moments after, like a couple seconds after, I saw the big giant creature in front of me. The alien, whatever you guys want to call it. The alien, demon, whatever you guys want to call it.
What do you believe it is?
A demon.
A demon?
Yeah.
So maybe that's changed, that once you thought it was an alien, now you believe it was a demon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, only God knows what it was. But I'm thinking it's like something bad, not a good thing.
Was it moving? Was it doing?
Yes, it was moving. You could see, like, he was breathing, like he was, like pissed off. Like he wanted to do something.
And he was looking at you and your brother?
He was looking at me, yeah.
Did he say anything?
Mm-mm. I remember he was growling like a dog, like he was growling.
When did it end?
As soon as I closed my eyes, I guess. I don't know. I think I was praying or something like that, and they just let me go. That's when I went inside, and I saw my dad. I mean, I saw it too.
It felt like it had a control of your body?
Oh yeah, I couldn't move. Yeah.
You were paralyzed at the sight of this thing.
Yeah, I couldn't move.
And you were looking at it for 30 or so seconds, and then all of a sudden it was gone?
Yeah.
Now, this is really interesting because when I was watching this through the first time, this took me back to a moment when I thought back to a more recent incident, being the Miami Mall incident, right? And I know people are going to roll their eyes and be like, oh, he's on about Miami Mall again. But hear me out. So the traumatizing events and the aftermath of what went on for Angel is truly terrifying. But if you think back to some of the witnesses to the Miami Mall incident, they also had similar demonic, spiritual, paranormal events like sleep paralysis and things like this after seeing these creatures. Now, I've already made a video kind of linking the parallels between the Las Vegas incident and the Miami Mall incident, but this just confirms, I think that there could be a link between the two.
It's pretty creepy.
A lot of people think that that's just hard to believe.
That, like I said again, they can think whatever they want.
What do you say to the people who believe that your family just made this whole thing up to try to get attention?
They can believe whatever they want, I'm not doing it for fame. If I did it for fame, I would be on YouTube and stuff like that, doing more videos, but I don't care, guys. I just went on TikTok and YouTube, made my story. That's pretty much it. I made no money off this. I want people to know that. I made no money off this. I don't need money. That's pretty much it. They can believe whatever they want.
I bet you hope it doesn't happen to anybody.
Oh, no, hopefully not, no. I hope God, no. Really bad experience. Really traumatizing.
And that's where it's interesting as well, because he's not chasing fame off the back of this, like he said. He's not made any, and to his credit, he's not made any money off it. And also, the YouTube video that he made, that was literally it. He's not posted anything since. You could have milked the topic, and that's when the red flags would have started pinging up, but he hasn't.
And Ashley, I don't know what your impression of him was, but when I was speaking to him personally, I was really struck by how confident and authentic he was about his memories of that night. There's a lot of people obviously out there in the world that would make up ghost stories in order to chase any sort of clout or fame. But to me, Angel came across as somebody who truly believed that he saw something that night in that backyard right here behind me.
Yeah, Alex, he didn't really seem to have canned answers either. So if this was all a big ruse, he's either a really, really good actor, I mean, Meryl Streep quality, and, he certainly didn't script it, didn't seem to plan out answers, at the grasp. I do want to ask you about the family. This is the 17-year-old finally talking at length about his experience. And boy, did he ever add some details there, that what he saw seemed to be angry and breathing heavily with growling, looking right at his brother and him, and that he felt frozen, which is an account we've heard from other people who have felt that they've seen something out of this world before, that they've been frozen and unable to move. What about the family? Does the family back him?
Yeah, the family does, although they're much less willing to go public about it. I spoke to his mom, who basically said that she has no interest in speaking about it because she just feels differently than Angel. She feels like nobody in the world is going to believe her. Angel, on the other hand, while certainly not trying to publish his case widespread, he feels the need to share it because he wants the world to know what he saw, and also he wants the world to know that his family is doing okay and moving forward. In general, the family wants the spotlight off of them. Take, for example, all these no trespassing signs. There's at least 4 of them. But at this time, they are just basically saying, look, we don't really want to talk about it anymore, but we still stand behind the things that we saw that night.
Thank you for watching.
And that's an amazing recount of what happened. But it goes even deeper because News Nation also got basically an evidence expert to analyse the footage, to really deep dive into it. And what he discovered was absolutely chilling. Take a look at this.
It's one thing to squint at a fuzzy video on YouTube and then decide space aliens do or do not exist. And it's another thing entirely to subject those sightings to the same kind of scientific rigor that puts, say, killers in prison. Scott Roeder is that kind of skeptic. He is an evidence expert and crime scene reconstructionist with 33 years of experience and 1,500 cases to his credit. He is the founder of the Evidence Room, a group that assembles specialists in forensic animation, 3D modeling, and motion graphics. He took a close look at the video that was recorded by that family in Las Vegas, and he applied his technology to try to debunk it. Here he is on his YouTube channel, Crime Scene, discussing what he calls the entity in the family's backyard.
We can take a video and look at whether or not there is an artificial artifact added to it or not. And in this case, we can definitively say, to a degree of scientific certainty, that this entity, this thing in the video, is there in the physical reality in which the Kenmore family is also there. Like, this is so critical because you can clearly see through the slots in the fence that there is a leg motion moving from the right to the left side of the screen. And clearly it is behind there. So this isn't just like a head floating in space. This is a head of that is somehow that does not have full opacity, that the opacity of the head of the shadow is only at about 33% opacity versus a normal shadow, which would be at 100% opacity, or an object in the screen, which is at 100%. And this isn't anything that you did. It's just what you were able to determine, that this shadow being, or this being in the shadows, possibly creating its own shadow or smoky filter or cloaking technique, is not only cloaking itself from the people there, but cloaking itself from the camera itself, in that it's minimizing our ability to identify pixels inside of that shadow.
That is mind-blowing, and it basically confirms that the shadow that we saw, because there was so much speculation about that shadow, was it real, was it not? You know, and it's taken a credible person who has got the credentials to say, yeah, that was actually there in the physical video, like in physical world at the time of recording. That is mind-blowing.
I'm joined now by UFO expert Ben Hansen. He's a former federal agent and now the host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus. Ben, it's great to have you on the program tonight again. So, I mean, your reaction to what, Scott Roeder did with his analytics, the shadow that you saw that was behind the fence as well as way above the fence. I guess your reaction to all of that.
Well, thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I'm excited because it took a while, I think, for anyone to get a copy of the raw video. I don't personally have it, but I'm glad that Scott has done this. I don't detect anything overt as a red flag that I would say that made me suspect that it was edited. So I concur with him on that. And it also appears that there is some sort of shadow that's present behind the slats of the fence, which he pointed out. And then you have kind of a head, it looks like, at the top of the fence. Where I kind of feel it might be a jump is people online then started to say, well, this is evidence of a cloaking creature of some sort. There is a lot going on in the video. If you look, there's 2 or 3 different light sources. And anytime you have that happening, you can have a lot of shadows from different angles. So unfortunately, we'll never have the same exact circumstance where we can go back and test it to see what might be causing a shadow effect.
Now, I completely agree and concur at the same time, because the shadow, you can see the shadows if you just take a look up here of the people. Like, you can see glimmers of the shadow there, like off the branches. But this shadow comes in and it's completely different. Different height, different density, different shape. Like, it's not contorted at all. It's just there. Look at it.
A shadow effect.
Look. Completely different. And nobody moves to make this happen, if that makes sense. And it doesn't also compensate for the shadow seen between the slats of the fence.
One aspect of it, and I'm not sure if our producers can just let the video go, but when they walk in past the gate, something startles them and they freak out. I mean, for lack of a better description, it's not. There's no way this is acting. Actors don't do it this well. Something startles them to the right, and they spin around and they kind of run out, and the video kind of goes, as it would if you were terrified.
It does, and I think that is genuine. If you look, I think they're looking at something towards the back of the yard, and something spooks them, where I feel that it might be a little bit of, I don't know, call it forensic gymnastics, is to say that it was caused by this thing off to the right, because as you can see right there, that shadow appears on top of the fence, but he's not looking to the right. If this was some sort of entity that was like 3 feet away from him, I think that's what would really scare anybody. So that's where you have these theories that people are saying, well, it's partially cloaked, it's fully cloaked, didn't want to be seen, but only the video picked it up. So I don't know about that. I think just based on the video, though, it's great that we have verification that it's not been edited.
I know you talk about confirmation bias as well. Explain to the audience how you think that might be working its way into this as an alternative theory.
Well, if you think about it and go back to the original, the whole background of what just preceded this, is you had this really bright object that streaked across the sky, right? And I do believe that now is a meteoroid, and it may have nothing to do with the family's actual sighting. They believe they saw a light come down to their backyard. And there was a lot of light and commotion, noise. And so when they went out to the backyard, they're already, adrenaline's pumping. They're hypersensitive to sights and sounds. I'm in no way suggesting that they made anything up, but perception can be skewed now that this is something out of this world we're out to see in our backyard. And then anything that might have a combination of shadows or sights they're not used to, it can be amplified in your visual perception. And that's just a suggestion, but I do feel the witnesses are being credible as far as describing what they saw. And especially look at that reaction when they see whatever it is back there and they come running out of there, and it's affected at least Angel to this day. He still has trouble with what he saw.
I've got to say a massive thank you to Ezekiel, who sent a super comment, which is basically they paid to have a comment sent. And they said, this family in Vegas owns a company. They don't need to make up such a story. We saw they all carried a gun. They were really afraid. I believe them. And that is something that a lot of people seem to agree with, because I got 6 likes on the comment. And I think it's a valid point. There was clear fear in if it was made up, why would they need guns? And also, you wouldn't be carrying a gun if you weren't truly afraid about what you might encounter. They took it clearly for their own protection. But also, the deep dive that was done on this footage was so interesting. It really opened up some possible avenues with the 30% opacity as opposed to 100% if it was a typical shadow, the shadow placement, the shadow movement. It really opened up my eyes to a whole new way of kind of looking at this footage. Moving into the next video though, we spoke about the New York UFO video that is going viral and whether it was truly a UFO or not. Here's what we had to talk about.
I am going to make you a bet that the next time you get a window seat on a plane, you're going to think of this next story and you're going to think of the guest who is going to talk about this next story. Michelle Reyes was flying over New York City with her daughter and she was sitting by a window. When she did what a lot of us do, we, take pictures out the window, nice video of the New York skyline. It's an amazing view. But what Michelle did not expect to see was a cylinder-shaped object zipping across her line of sight near LaGuardia Airport. Was it a bug inside the plane, maybe? Well, she played the video back to look, and no, it was not a bug. Whatever it was definitely outside the plane, and it was flying on its own, and it was really, really fast. Michelle Reyes joins me now exclusively, and I want to welcome back Ben Hansen from UFO Witness on Discovery Plus as well. Michelle, thank you.
Now, the UFO clip itself, we'll play it in its entirety in a moment, but it's an incredible clip. She didn't even mean to capture it. She didn't even realise she captured it until she played it back, which makes the authenticity of this so much better.
Thank you so much for being here. First of all, wow, that was pretty alarming stuff. What did you do with the video, and did you reach out to authorities to share it with them?
Thank you for having me. And when I realized that I had something like this on the video, the first thing I did was I emailed the FAA to let them know what I saw, and maybe it was a safety hazard. I reached out to them. Unfortunately, I haven't heard back from them. They didn't acknowledge my email. And then I sent it to Enigma Labs and the National UFO Database.
And any response?
Enigma Labs was the only one who responded to me.
So your dad apparently... Oh, okay. So, and as I understand, your dad is a former Navy guy, so you were able to share with him as well. What did he say?
I showed it to him first, and he honestly had no idea what it was either. He had no idea. He was just as baffled as I was.
Did you guys settle on the fact that it maybe was a drone? It was going awfully fast to be a drone, but was that the best guess?
He thought it may be a drone, but he didn't think that it should be where it was, that close to the aircraft. So he really didn't have an answer for me. He was just as clueless as I was. He's seen a lot of things, and he couldn't give me an answer, but if he had to guess, he would have said drone.
So it's a good thing Ben Hansen is here. You host a show called UFO Witness. What do you think about this tick?
Now, I like this because Ben Hansen obviously is very well informed, and I respect his opinions on things. Sometimes I hear him say stuff and I'm like, yeah, I don't know where you've really got that from or where you've plucked that idea from. But sometimes I'm like, yes, this guy is the guy. Let's see how he is today.
Tag video, Ben.
This was incredible, honestly, because it took a while just for us to get in touch with Michelle. It wasn't for her posting it on the app. Someone had borrowed, stole it from her social media and posted it as if they were her friend. So we had no idea who she was. We were looking up flights and trying to figure out which flight she was on. When we finally were able to contact her, she, for me, has been completely just genuine, sincere. We've now started to analyze the video, and I feel a little awkward saying this with her here, but find no evidence that she faked this or hoaxed it. I didn't from the beginning, but we had to run it through, the proper, data analysis, and it's there. It's very clear, which is unusual. So to me, I feel as though this is probably something not terribly far in the distance, but there's problems with the theory of it being something as simple as an insect, which I would suspect this was happening, on the ground. We're talking 200 plus miles an hour at this point. Her jet is flying. So it passes in about 1/7 of a second, and it's present in 5 frames of the video.
Now, what's interesting is I've actually got a little bit of insight and a bit of a deep dive into this whole thing to try and understand the speed that it's going and what it could possibly be. So I'll be sharing that in just a moment. But this is where I love this.
So there's a lot we can
very
dive
shiny
into.
Giant,
But we're...
you know. Shiny giant, really fast insect. It definitely doesn't look like an insect. It certainly looks like the Tic Tacs that we've seen in other naval videos as well. And Michelle, did you say there was someone else maybe on that flight who you later were able to determine saw this as well?
Yes, I had posted the video onto my social media, and one of the other moms on the flight, she said that she had noticed it when she was in the air too. So I wasn't the only one who saw it. So it was kind of, you know, a little more like nerve-wracking that someone else also saw what I saw.
Well, I hope the authorities are watching tonight, and I'm sorry to say, you know, that you didn't get the attention that you should have when you alerted them to videos like this. I think it behooves all of us to just at least forward the information. We don't need to make judgment on it, but for heaven's sake, acknowledge that this is unusual, and it certainly does resemble some of the other unusual things we've seen before. Thank you for watching.
Now, I do agree. I think it's messed up that she got no response from anyone whatsoever. Like, she genuinely sent that out of concern for it being a potential hazard or a threat, and she got nothing in return. I mean, she was just doing a civil duty. But anyway, here is the clip in its entirety without it being stopped, slowed down, zoomed in, so you can truly see the sheer speed that this thing travels at. Now, as you can see there, absolutely rapid. But this is where my thought kind of process comes into it, because this isn't a brand new video. This hasn't surfaced over the past, like, day or two, and then it's been, like, a big scoop. No. I actually reposted this video because I saw it well over a month, well, almost a month ago. So I posted this video to my YouTube Shorts on March 30th. So that's almost an entire month ago that I reposted this video. And for some reason, people are passing it off as a brand new clip. It's not, I mean, it's new, but it's not brand spanking new, like fresh off the press. But that's something that I wanted to add in because it was just kind of bugging me a little bit that was what people were saying. But this is what I have found online. Now, I can't take full credit for this, but someone over on Twitter that goes by the name Mick West, alright, most of you will probably know who Mick West is, but a brief initial analysis of the Reyes LaGuardia UFO. If it's a balloon, then it's around 2.7 feet long. Now, I've never seen a balloon that's around 2.7 foot, but this is where it gets interesting, because obviously whenever there's a UFO sighting, the first thing that people talk about is it's a balloon. But look at this. Looking at the flights, there's only one contender, Spirit NKS 3380, which was flying past at 2:30 p.m. EDT. At the point, it was going 240 miles per hour. The object traversed the field of view in 5 frames, which is incredible. In a single frame, 1/30th of a second, it goes around 4.3 times its own length. So it's been elongated. 240 miles per hour is around 352 feet per second, or 11.7 feet and 1/30th of a second. So if we hypothesize that it's a balloon, it goes 11.7 feet in the same time that it moves through 4.3 times its length. So its length is 11.4 divided by 4.3, or 2.7 feet, 31 inches. Consistent with a balloon, like, for example, large number 1 black foil mylar balloon, which goes for around $10 if anyone's interested. Got a first birthday coming up, and it's around 40 inches long, as we can see right here. Alright, so it's around 40 inches long, which isn't too far off of the 31 inches. And now this is hypothesized, so there's room and margin for error on this, so it could be a few inches over or under. But yeah, 40 inches. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, 40 inches isn't that big for a craft. But when you take a look at this, and bear in mind this is foil, this is going to be made of foil, so you can see where the light reflects it. And actually, it would be quite consistent with this if this was on its side and, like, you know, facing you. So, I mean, am I saying that it's actually a balloon? No, but the hypothesis fits the facts, and it's hard to disrepute the evidence when it's right in front of us like it is now. But again, that's up for debate. But there was another UFO sighting in New York, and this one actually started at the start of the year on January 25th, 2024. I thought I'd include it because, you know, New York, UFOs. I was interested to see if there had been any other occurrences around the time, but this was all I could find. Again, do I think that this one's a balloon? No, it looks a lot more circular. As you can see there, it's got a bit more of a, like, a polo, mint polo shape to it. A bit more ringed. And it moves. It does move, though, this one. Like it's been carried by the wind. Like, it would be like a rubber ring. You know, like an inflatable rubber ring. Or, it could, in fact, be the exact same style of balloon, because if you look up foil black 0 balloon, it would look exactly like this. I mean, even on here, when just before it got like a bit less clear, if we look around here, you can actually see like the tubes where the helium would go in. And the comment that really caught my attention on this video was one from 1.43 you and me. And they said, I absolutely love your dive into the alien/UFO phenomenon going on around the world. I'm always looking forward to what you find and post next. Now with this video, I definitely think that the video the passenger got while in the plane was a genuine UFO and just going off the speed alone. The second video I feel is an amazing comparison, as to me, it looks like the second one is a balloon because it's just kind of floating around and moving like a balloon would in the wind. That first video showed a craft on a straight trajectory moving with speed, not just floating around all willy-nilly like the second. Just my observations and thoughts. And thank you for your amazing content, Ben. All my best to you, Lainey and Apollo. And I really found this interesting because a lot of people agreed with this comment. Not necessarily just like kind of highlighting this comment alone, but just by scanning through the comments, this was the general consensus that the first video was a legitimate craft, not a balloon, because if you compare it to the second one, it's a great direct comparison. You can see how it's like the second one's floating around all willy-nilly. But that's not what happened with the first one. And it really made me stop, take a look at the footage again, and reanalyze it from a different point of view, because if you guys are seeing something that I'm not, maybe I'm mistaken. But that is the week's news, all kind of rounded up into a video. If you guys want to become a part of these videos, obviously the comments really stood out were obviously from members and from super chats and stuff. Those ones kind of pop up at the top and they get the most interactions and stuff. But make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions on the videos when I post them, because your comment might be involved in one of these roundup videos at the end of every week. What do you make of all this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you're new, tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload. Obviously, we upload every single day at 7 PM UK time, so be sure to be here at 7 PM UK time to get your daily fix of UFO and strange world news. Anyway, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you in the next video, and I will speak to you later. Peace.